was medically dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Lucifer and Satan are two different beings. They're not the same. I always thought Lucifer's nickname was Satan, and Satan, no. Lucifer is the one who's giving all the orders. Satan is his underling. Satan would be the underboss, put it that way, okay?
Bayangkan, hanya dalam 3 menit dan 47 detik, hidup seseorang bisa berubah selamanya. Bukan mimpi buruk, bukan khayalan. Dominic Morrow, mantan anggota geng dari Chicago, mengalami sebuah kejadian luar biasa. Hari itu, hidupnya seakan berakhir. Di antara desing peluru dan bayangan kematian, sebuah insiden membawa Dominic menuju sesuatu yang tidak pernah ia bayangkan. Neraka. Selamat datang di channel Karya Vince, tempat di mana kita merenungkan kehidupan dan makna dari setiap pilihan yang kita buat. Dalam video ini, kita akan menyimak kisah luar biasa dari Dominic Morrow, seorang pria yang pernah menjalani kehidupan keras di jalanan Chicago, dan akhirnya mendapatkan kesempatan kedua untuk memperbaiki hidupnya. Simak kisah hidup Dominic Morrow. Apakah Anda pernah membayangkan seperti apa rasanya berada di neraka? 3 menit dan 47 detik? Hanya sesingkat itu, Dominic Morrow, seorang mantan anggota geng dari Chicago, melihat dan merasakan apa yang hanya sedikit orang bisa bayangkan. Di ambang kematian, Dominic menemukan dirinya di sebuah tempat yang tak pernah ia duga akan ada. Di sebuah realitas yang lebih gelap dari mimpi buruk terburuknya. Pada tahun 2009, di tengah kehidupan penuh kekerasan dan kekacauan, Dominic terkena tembakan yang nyaris merenggut nyawanya. Namun, apa yang terjadi selanjutnya bukan sekadar kejadian mendekati kematian. Dominic menyadari jiwanya seperti ditarik ke sebuah tempat yang tidak ia kenali. Sebuah kegelapan yang pekat.
Sure. It was June 9th, 2009. I was in Chicago, and at that time, I was an active gang member. Unfortunately, but fortunately, because it brought me to the Lord. But 2009, in June, I was with a friend. And, it's a highly populated area. So it's kind of very rare in the city to be able to see someone. I had a feeling that someone was following me. I saw him again coming out the second store. He was sitting on his car outside of the store. And that is pretty rare. That is very rare. The district I lived in, there's over 500,000 people in that district. So just to run across someone 2 times within 30 minutes in a place that is somewhere so distant, far away, that was kind of unusual. So I shoved it off, but I told my friend, I said, hey, there's that guy again. And then my friend said, hey, man, you're kind of paranoid. You're not that important. No one is following you. And he kind of laughed it off, but it's just something in my gut. So then we went to the clothing store. As I'm coming out, there he was again. I said, wait a minute. Okay. Something is not. And then my friend started to take notice, like, okay, yeah, something is not right here, So we went back home, and as I come out the building, this is hours later, he's standing in front of my building. And as I said, okay, I'm going to go question this guy just to see if I know him from somewhere. This is he has to be following us at this point, or following me. So as I approached him and I asked him, I said, he said, do you have a lighter? Because he had a cigar in his mouth. And I said, yeah, sure. And as I was digging in my pocket to hand him the lighter, all of a sudden it was like a green flash. That's what I remember. It was a green flash, and then I smelled sulfur like matches. That's the best way I can explain it, like a book of matches. If you would set a book of matches on fire, that smell. And I looked down, and he looked at me, and he had this evil grin on his face, and then that's when I noticed the gun. I guess I was in shell shock the first time he shot me. He shot me once in my lower abdomen area, and then he shot me again. And when I looked at him, it was just like everything went in slow motion, but he just had this evil, like, I got you, look on his face, and it was the most evil look. But the second time when he shot me, as I'm falling back, I noticed the force of the bullet when it hit me. I was falling backwards. But as I was falling backwards, I started to black out. But when I started blacking out, falling backwards, I immediately was falling forward. It's very hard to explain. I was literally laying on my back, but yet I was falling forward. Okay. the first thing I noticed was nothingness. Okay, it's the darkness that is so dark. It is so, the darkness, like I always explain, is alive.
Di sana, ia menyaksikan hal-hal yang hanya bisa ia gambarkan sebagai neraka. Kegelapan yang menyesakan, panas yang membakar, jeritan yang tak berkesudahan. Dominic melihat sosok-sosok yang tampak hancur oleh dosa-dosa mereka. Di setiap sudut, ada rasa putus asa yang mendalam, sebuah penderitaan yang tidak pernah bisa diredakan.
It was thriving, but as I'm falling, and it had to be faster than the speed of light. It was in a different dimension, but the speed at which I was falling was so fast. But I noticed as I was falling, it felt like I was getting stripped away of everything good. Hope, love, laughter, joy, fellowship. Everything was getting stripped. The further and the faster I was falling, the more and more I felt naked, a spiritual nakedness. Okay? So the smell, and as I'm falling and I'm smelling this, then I saw a little light, little pin drop of light as I'm falling, and it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I noticed that this light, I heard voices, screams. When I say screams, as I'm falling, it's like a portal opening. The light starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm looking, and it looks like a ancient cave system. But then I feel heat, undescribable heat as I'm falling. It's kind of hard to put in terms. That's why I try my best to use descriptive words that we kind of know, because the spirit world has a component to it that everything is magnified. Not only is it magnified, everything has vibrational feeling to it. Everything. It's a different fabric of existence. It's a different format. It's a whole completely different texture of existence. So as I'm falling, I'm hearing these screams. I smell the smells, and instantly I knew I'm going, this is hell. And the heat, it is so bad. But when I fall through, and that's the sound. It was just like the sound was the feeling at the same time. It's like a swoosh, and I hit the bottom. Now, as I hit, it was darker still, but then all of a sudden I saw like pits, and the only way I can see is because the illumination of these pits were flaming. It was like just bursting like little furnaces. And then that's how I can see. But then what terrified me the most, okay, is the fact that as I'm laying there, the pits, when they were illuminating the space that I was in, I looked, you saw, thousands, as far as your eye can see, of these pits. And there were people in these pits, okay? Some of them were skeletal. Some of them had flesh hanging off of them. And they were like in pools of lava. But when I really looked, there were these demons, creatures, reptile-looking things. Some of them were huge. Some of them, I would just guesstimate them to say 13 feet tall, 12 feet tall. Some of them were small. Some of them were like 3 feet tall. They were just so grotesque, and there were so many of them standing around the pits while people were trying to crawl out the pits. They were throwing them back in. They had like these rusty, everything looks ancient there too, as far as the tools they were using. I'm gonna describe that soon enough. But they would try to get out, and they were kicking them in, and they were laughing and just throwing these people back in these pits. As far as your eye can see, and there's people screaming and yelling and in horror, like it is undescribable. I wouldn't wish no one to even visit this place. But when I looked and analyzed and was looking at these demon creatures, I noticed a reptilian thing to them. They always, their eyes were red. Some of them eyes were yellow. They had the slits of a reptile. They had their hands were massive, especially the giant ones. The giant ones, they were the most intimidating. But even the smaller ones were more intimidating because I felt more of a hate.
Selama 3 menit dan 47 detik yang terasa seperti keabadian, Dominic menyadari dosa-dosa yang pernah ia lakukan, semua kekerasan, kebencian, dan pemberontakan. Semua itu sekarang terasa bagaikan rantai yang mengikat dirinya pada tempat itu. Namun, di tengah kegelapan, sebuah suara terdengar.
Marilah kepadaku semua yang letih lesu dan berbeban berat. Aku akan memberi kelegaan kepadamu. Pikulah kuk yang kupasang dan belajarlah kepadaku, karena aku lemah lembut dan rendah hati, dan jiwamu akan mendapat ketenangan.
Suara yang mengingatkan Dominic akan Tuhan yang masih menantinya. Tuhan yang menawarkan pengampunan, meski di tengah kegelapan neraka. Saat itulah ia disadarkan untuk memilih kehidupan yang baru, dan untuk meninggalkan masa lalunya yang kelam.
Because I was medically dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds from what I learned. I was gone. They pretty much just like, yo, they kept working on me, but I had passed away. So that's why they were already getting, they already started learning. A couple of my friends that were there, they told them already that pretty much like, hey, yeah. So that's why they were shocked. So now I realize it, because when I first, her energy scared me the way she jumped, in the way, because I saw a whole bunch of carts and things. It just didn't look right. It was like they kind of just were wrapping stuff up pretty much, I didn't have any IVs in me. I didn't have any of those things. This another thing that I learned too. Lucifer and Satan are two different beings. They're not the same. I always thought Lucifer's nickname was Satan, and Satan. No. Lucifer is the one who's giving all the orders. Satan is his underling. Satan would be the underboss, put it that way. Okay? And Beelzebub is the one who's in charge of running the dominion of the 9 principalities. They're all original fallen angels. I want you guys to do your own research in the book of Enoch. That's why it was taken out of the scriptures. Please, the book of Enoch explains the 200, okay? It was originally 200 of them that came here, but there's only 9 in power, with Lucifer at the top. And the other 200 are like the rest of them are like the generals. They come up with ways for us to sin.
Setelah kejadian itu, Dominic bangkit sebagai pribadi yang baru. Pengalaman 3 menit dan 47 detik di neraka telah mengubahnya selamanya. Dia meninggalkan kehidupan lamanya dan memilih jalan pertobatan yang sesungguhnya. Kisah Dominic adalah pesan dan peringatan bagi kita semua, bahwa neraka itu nyata, dan bahwa Tuhan memberi kesempatan bagi siapa saja untuk bertobat sebelum terlambat. Apakah kita akan menunggu sampai kesempatan itu hilang? Terima kasih telah menonton. Jika kisah ini memberi Anda inspirasi atau membuka pemahaman baru, jangan lupa untuk like, subscribe, dan aktifkan lonceng notifikasi agar tidak ketinggalan kisah-kisah penuh makna lainnya.